Absolute banger in our co-main event. Coming up this weekend, we have Jose Aldo taking on Pedro Munhoz. As always, one half of your host to Craig Allen. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Craig Allen FNP. With me to my left, to your right, Matt Allen. You can find him on their respective socials at Matt Allen FNP. And I know that at Matt Allen FNP is excited for this fight. Yes. Because for Jose Aldo, he looked great in his last fight. He took on Marlon Vera. It was an awesome fight. Now, he had a 3-fight losing streak before that to Alexander Volkanovski, Marlon Moraes. He lost by split decision. Some people thought that he won. And then he lost to Petr Yan and took way too much damage. So that was the fights that he had, I guess, coming in. His 5-on-in, he had a knockout win over Renato Moicano. And I won't minimize that because he looked amazing in that fight. For Pedro Munhoz, the 5-on-in, it's 3-2. The wins, maybe not as sexy because the 5-on-in includes Brian Caraway, Cody Garbrandt, Jimmy Rivera, the wins. The losses, Frankie Edgar by split, and Aljamain Sterling by unanimous decision. Now, I thought that he beat Frankie Edgar in the split decision. We'll talk about it as it comes. But Matt, that Jimmy Rivera fight, Pedro Munhoz looked really good in that one.
He really did. And honestly, that Jimmy Rivera fight, you kind of get the same version of that in the Frankie Edgar fight. Because Frankie Edgar and Jimmy Rivera, although a little bit different, like, they're what, 98% the same fighter?
They wrestle, they box.
They wrestle, they box, they move. It's, you know, they got the big three covered. And Pedro Munhoz did the same things that he did in the Frankie Edgar fight, in the Jimmy Rivera fight. It's just he stuck with the leg kick in the Jimmy Rivera fight. That was the frustrating thing out of Munhoz against Edgar, was he starts out kicking the leg. He continues to kick the leg, doesn't kick the leg for like 17 minutes, and then goes back to it a little bit at the end of the 5th round. It just showed that Pedro Munhoz needs more time in a 5-round atmosphere. And I was going to say, I was going to cut you off while you were doing the intro to this video. Of all the co-main events to make 5 rounds, why isn't this 5 rounds? Like, you give Nate Diaz, Leon Edwards 5. Give me Jose Aldo.
You give Nick Diaz, Robbie Lawler 5.
Exactly. So give me Pedro Munhoz versus Jose Aldo for 5 rounds. Because these are two guys that have proved that they can go a hard 25 minutes. They were definitely going to deliver on an exciting fight for 25 minutes. Just, for me, as a fan, I'd be really happy if they did do that. Now, I understand we're too far late in the week and neither guy's trained for it, but one person can only hope. This will be an interesting fight because both guys do a lot of the same things. Like Jose Aldo, there's a lot of hooks to the head, there's a lot of leg kicks. Pedro Munhoz, the same thing. The real difference, though, comes down to speed for these guys, because I will admit that Pedro Munhoz is probably the more durable guy at this age, and it is weird. Jose Aldo is like Shogun. He's always 10 years younger than you probably think he is. He's only 34 years of age, almost 35, but
there's
still.
2 days that separate these guys in age. 2 days.
Which is absolutely insane, because Pedro Munhoz, I know he's been around for a little while now, but I still think about him as a much newer fighter than Jose Aldo, which is, Jose Aldo is, again, he was kind of like the Sage Northcutt of WEC. She turned into being really, 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 really good. And I think the body shots are going to be a huge key in this fight because Pedro Munhoz is a guy who used the calf kick a lot, but he doesn't really check them defensively a lot in return. Jose Aldo's different. Jose Aldo can throw calf kicks, although it's weird. Some fights he will, some fights he won't. It depends on who you ask. Some people think it was a knee injury that was the reason he stopped throwing them. Some people think he broke his foot in the Lamas fight, and that's why he stopped throwing them. I'm not an armchair doctor nor quarterback, so I'll just let it be what it is. But he does kind of have some inconsistencies with his leg kicks. The one thing, though, that I do know he always does for some water in the basement techniques are the body shots with his hands. And there's just something that Pedro Munhoz himself doesn't do. Pedro Munhoz is a good boxer, but one problem I've always had with Pedro Munhoz is that the power's there, the output's there, but the speed isn't. He moves like slow molasses on a cold winter day. He just lands, and when he lands, they're so devastating, the guys tend to fall down. Jose Aldo's going to have a massive speed advantage in this fight, and I really do feel like that's what it's going to come down to. If Munhoz lands a damaging shot on Jose Aldo, it's probably more likely to put Aldo down than if Aldo lands a damaging shot on Munhoz. The difference is that I think Aldo's going to be able to land 2, 3, 4 power strikes to every one that Munhoz lands, and that's why this fight's going to be so much fun. I think both these guys are going to land a lot cleanly on each other. It's just really going to come down to who can stand upright.
I can't wait for it. I mean, you can't beleaguer it. You've seen so much of Jose Aldo, and for Pedro Munhoz, I mean, he got popped close to home here. He got popped in Nova Scotia, so that's his 1-0 contest on his record. But other than that, it's been good. The durability's there. The wrestling's there. Obviously, I would say the guy that used the jiu-jitsu the most out of the two is Pedro Munhoz. You know how good Aldo's is, but you never see it. So it's there. He's a Novo União guy. You're going to have Dede Pederneiras most likely in his corner coming into this one. For Munhoz, there used to be a few gyms thrown out there, but he's trained for quite some time out of American Top Team. A bevy of training partners there in the lower weight classes. But Matt, when I look at this one in terms of the odds, Aldo open to -138. He's -127 or thereabouts on best fight odds. For Pedro Munhoz, open to +115. He's a +103. Most likely the odds go into par as we come into this one. The total Tapology votes, 983 total votes, 71% Aldo, 29% Munhoz, 71% of those Munhoz voters having to win by decision, 84% of the Aldo voters having to win by decision. So maybe you like the over, maybe you like the fight to go to the decision. I like that, but maybe you like Munhoz a little bit more to win by finish?
I have a really hard time predicting this fight because of that.
So
because Jose Aldo has not shown the ability at 135 pounds to be able to eat a clean shot consistently. I know in the Moraes fight, he did eat a few clean ones, and Moraes did too, and it's weird because neither guy's really known for their durability, but both guys ate really big power shots. Personally, I thought Aldo won that fight. Again, close fight. I don't really care how you scored it. It was close. But Aldo, the durability is a big question mark. Even go back to the Marlon Vera fight. Even when Vera was starting to land on him in the third round a little bit, he turned wrestler mode. I don't know if that's him realizing, okay, I can't eat the same shots that I used to, so now I do have to use the grappling in my back pocket. I see you going like that, but look at the Piotr Jan fight. Fights like that take years off your life. I don't care who you are. It does. Like, I think the strike was like 94-3 at the end of the fifth round when they decided to stop it. It was one of those fights that could have been stopped much sooner. And again, when Aldo did turn into that wrestler mode, I understand he might have wanted to show off more of his skill set, but he was beating Vera on the feet. And when he did eat, like, and I'm not even kidding, he ate like 3 clean shots and immediately went, okay, I'm shooting double legs now. If Munoz does start to land clean on Aldo, at least early on in this fight, and if Aldo is the one initiating the grappling, I think Munoz can win this fight. I actually think Munoz on the mat is a much trickier fighter than Jose Aldo because Jose Aldo might have the black belt in jiu-jitsu. I look at Jose Aldo's grappling much more defensively than I do offensively, and I actually worry about him if he's the one initiating the offense. If Munoz shoots for a takedown on Jose Aldo, he's just wasting time. He might as well just run in open space because you're not taking down Jose Aldo. Prime Chad Mendes on 1,000 PEDs couldn't even take down Jose Aldo, so I don't think Pedro Munhoz, who lacks that wrestling background, is going to be able to go in there and just start shooting doubles and single legs on Aldo. Aldo at one point was probably the best threat to beat Khabib at 155 pounds because his takedown defense was that good. This is a fighter who most people thought, if anything, when he was going to change weight classes, would move up to 155 pounds, not down to 135. So, it's a hard fight to pick, and I think I brought up some reasons for why Pedro Munhoz can win this fight, but I have to side with the speed advantage of Jose Aldo. I do think if Aldo is able to land consistently to the body and to the legs of Munhoz, I feel like Munhoz is going to have a hard time catching up to the speed of Aldo. And if Aldo is the one getting off first, I feel like he will just start to accumulate the shots. But again, this could be one of those fights where Aldo looks great for a round and a half, eats a big overhand, and goes down.
I think exactly that's going to happen. I like Pedro Munhoz for that reason.
Fair enough.
I think Pedro Munhoz, again, we talk about it, we reference it. If Teddy Atlas would, if Ken would just shove off for a second. If we could get Teddy Atlas, I'd love to talk to him because crazy thing is, he goes on Twitter on Saturday nights, watches fight nights, and
tweets about it.
Talks about the fight night cards, and I absolutely love it. But I'd love to get his take on Pedro Munhoz because, again, water in the basement. I know Pedro Munhoz is going to invest in the legs. The other thing that he will do, he has nice hooks, he has nice power. Again, the speed might not be there because for Aldo, he can land anywhere. He can land when he moves. He can land when he plants. For Pedro, he plants a little bit more, but the other thing that he does, he accepts guys in, he invites them in, and then he counters and lands with great shots. He's been able to do it against the Jimmy Rivera's of the world, the Brian Caraways of the world. But no, I really do like Pedro Munhoz for those reasons. And if for any reason it ends up on the mat, which it might not, but if it does, I like Pedro in that circumstance as well. So I'm going to go with Pedro Munhoz. Both of these guys are some of those battle-tested guys you're going to find at 135. I absolutely love it. And if we have a hard time with it, I'd like to get your thoughts in the comments section. Maybe you are a true blue. Pedro Munhoz is going to get the win. He's 2 days older. He's that much stronger. Maybe you like Jose Aldo here, the burger joint guy. Maybe you're going Aldo. We're split, but I'd love to get your thoughts, and I can't wait for that main event. Ooh, boy, Derrick Lewis taking on Ciryl Gane. You're not going to want to miss that. So keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks, as we always say.
Let's get into it.